In order to learn more about Quick Select and the Select and Mask workspace, we're going to do another project with this photograph of my friend Owen. Here's the project. We are going to select and then remove Owen from this environment and create a little layout composite. We'll begin by using the Quick Select tool. So let's go ahead and choose that tool here in the Tools panel. We want to turn on Auto Enhance, and then we want to zoom into the area that we're going to work on. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit closer here. Next, we'll choose a brush size which is pretty small, and we just want to start to click and drag over the object that we want to select. In this case, Owen here, so I'm clicking and dragging over this. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm selecting everything. In this case, his hair, his shirt, all of that, his hand. So I'm just dragging this over. If I get to an area where I need to do some detail work, I'll make my brush size smaller. In the options bar, you can decrease your brush size, and that can help you to select some really small things, like in this case, his fingertips. They're blending in with the background, these ones right here. And then one of the things I'm noticing is that I have a little problem. If we zoom in here, you can see that my selection has also picked up the background here and the background between the fingers there. So how are we going to get rid of that? Well, we need an even smaller brush. Next, what we want to do is use the brush with the minus icon and just click into that area. I'm going to do the same thing over here, click and drag over that. That's going to allow me to deselect from the selection this little area of the background. Then use the brush with the plus icon and bring anything back. It also deselected the lips there. And what I'm looking for is just making sure that I have all the objects selected. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag over any little area that I want to have. The hair up here, we're going to need to do some work inside of Select and Mask to really finish this off. But I think for the most part, we have a good selection of our subject. And when you're doing something like this, when it's not a leaf like in the previous movie, but a person, you really want to zoom in, work on all those little edges, and then use the tool either to subtract or to add as needed. Next step, you ready for it? Here we go, Select and Mask. Inside of Select and Mask, what we can see is we have a decent selection of our subject. What we want to do is if we missed anything, we can use this tool right here. This allows us to add to the selection. So if there is some problem, just click and drag over that and it would build out or add more to the selection. This brush here works really well where we have transparency. I'm just going to go along the edge of the hair here, and that's going to help to make sure that the edges on that have a little bit of that transparency and we can see through it. And so that will make a much more realistic view with our hair up there. So again, just click along those edges. I think that is looking good. Next step, we'll do some edge detection work. And let me zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. We're going to turn on Smart Radius, and I'll turn on my radius slider here. And what you're really looking for is you can press your P key and hold it, and you can see, let's zoom in even farther so you can actually see this. You can see with the hair above how the hair is a lot better. And we want to see how Smart Radius and the radius are helping us improve the edges. I think it's looking really good. And then after we've done our edge detection work, we go to Global Refinements. With this one, we won't need much smoothing because I think the edges are fine as is. Maybe a little bit of contrast and just a little teeny bit of feathering. You want to be careful with your feathering because if you bring this up too high, let me bring it up high, all of a sudden you get this weird sort of ghosting type of look and it just isn't very good. So probably going to keep that one pretty low. So we have some edge detection work we did, some global refinements we've done. Now we're down to output settings. If the object you're removing is really different than the background color, decontaminate colors can help to just improve the edges in huge ways. This one, I don't have that problem, so I'll leave this off. Now for our output, we have a few options, which we haven't talked about. What we can do is we could copy this to a new layer right here. So this would then take the area we've selected, create a new layer with this object on it all by itself. Let's try that this time. Here we'll click on New Layer, then we'll click OK. What will happen is it will create a new layer for us with our guy here on the layer by itself. Let's double click this, and I'm going to name this one Owen, because that's the guy's name. Next, we'll zoom out a little bit so that we can see that we have this guy by himself. And if we use our move tool, we can reposition him in the frame. Now, when it comes to adding a background color, there are a number of options. One is to click into the background layer, then click on the adjustment layer icon and choose solid color. This will open up a color dialog where we could then choose a color. Maybe we want to go with a blue or something like that, nice bright blue, and we'll put that as our background there. So you can see how I'm building out this new environment or this composite in a way. Now, when it comes to finishing this off, just to reiterate a few more shortcuts that we've already covered, if we want another version of this layer, let's say I want to copy this up to a new layer, one way we can do that is just click and drag this down to the new layer icon. Then with our move tool, we can reposition this over to a new spot. So again, it's just a matter of dragging that down to the new layer icon. Then you have a new copy of that and we can move this around. If ever we want to free transform this, do you remember where to find that? Go to Edit, then Free Transform. There it is, Edit and Free Transform. And then here, what we can do is free transform this a unique way. Let me show you an advanced tip. If you right-click or control-click inside of a free transform area, one of your options is to flip the contents. If we flip this horizontally, what will happen is it will flip it so it's facing the other direction. Then I'll double-click inside of that crop area. All right, well, that wraps up our project. And here with this project, it was really all about looking at how we could use Quick Select in order to just select our subject. Then after we finished that off, we went to Select and Mask to improve our edge detail. We then decided to output this to a new layer. We created a background for our project. Then we clicked and dragged this down to the new layer icon. On this copy layer, we free transformed it by going to Edit and Free Transform. After we had that, we right-clicked or control-clicked inside of that area and chose Flip Horizontal, which gave us the ability to flip the contents of that layer and then double-click that in order to apply that and finish off our project, which gave us some more insight into how we can use the Quick Select tool and that Select and Mask workspace.